So I started cleaning up the back of it, and this area here that's undercut, this has been machined in there, and it's got a pretty heavy tooling mark across there, so it's like little grooves and a little difficult to get out. So what I decided to do here is go ahead and use my wire wheel on the back of it to try to really clean it and get the rust and the grime out of the tooling marks, and then I'll go back over it with my Scotch-Brite and see if I can kind of polish it out. Oh yeah, see there? I don't know if you're getting a good shot of it on the video, but looking at it right here through the reflection, it's really brightened it up just that fast. So we're just cleaning it up. I'll show you what I'm talking about here with the wire wheel. In here, I'll go in there and we'll flap those out just to kind of clean it. I want it to look pretty, you know. I want it to look good, and we'll kind of start fresh there. This surface here again, I'm going to do that by hand, but we'll hit it with the wire wheel just to try to knock the surface off of it there. On these holes, I'm going to use this shop-made little flapper, and that's just a 1/4 inch rod with some emery paper. You just cut a little slit in the end of it with like a hacksaw, and just put it down in there and wind it up. And these work really good. You just tear off the end after using a little bit. Pretty effective. You can see it doing its job there, cleaning the hole out. Working on this center bore right here too. I did use the flap a little on it. It had quite a bit of rust in there I want to get out, but over here where all the T-slots are, it's not hitting very good, so I'm going to use a normal flap wheel very lightly up in here. These holes, you can just use a little wire brush like this and a drill motor and just clean them out. I'm just cleaning the rust and the dirt out of there, and I'll blow them out real good. So I got most of the backside clean. I've still got to stone the face here. I haven't done that yet, but I'm just working on the outside, and I should have used the Evaporust a little bit more on the outside to get some of this heavy staining off of it with the rust, but I'm gonna go ahead and use the hand buff method. I'm going over it a little bit like this with the wire wheel. That's kind of knocking the staining down, and then I'm going to go over it with my Scotch-Brite like this and just hand work it, hand polish it back in to where it'll have a nice smooth consistent color on the outside of it there. I think I got the chuck pretty well clean. I'm happy with how everything's turned out. I've blown it off really good. I've sprayed it really well with my fast evaporating cleaner, rotated the screws, and blow everything really good. So I think what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm ready to put the studs back in here, And before we do that, I'm going to grab one of my stones, and I'll just want to kind of rub this face right here and make sure that there's no high spots. We'll do that real quick, and then we'll put the studs in. All right, I got my nice Norton stone right here. I'm seeing a few high spots where the chips were pulled up into the face. I see a ding there, see a high spot there, and right there. All right, let's go to our fine stone. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So we're gonna leave it there. So let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and install our studs right here. And I've just wire brushed them over there on the grinder, got them clean. So once again, you got a groove that's machined in there, just a little V groove, and that's a reference line. And what you do is just kind of eyeball it with the face here. So we'll go ahead and get one screwed in. And you just get down here and look at it. That's actually about right where it needs to be. So you can go in one, or you can back out one. And I'm just going to leave it there where I can see the groove. And we'll have to mount it on the machine and actually adjust it accordingly, but hopefully most of them will be right there where they need. Just put the cap head bolt in there and run that back in there, and that just keeps the stud from being able to turn. Alright, and we'll just keep doing that until we get all 6 of them done. I think I'm going to go in right there on that one. All right, we're ready to go ahead and put the jaws back in the chuck. And one thing that I'll go ahead and point out is that they are numbered. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 over here. And I don't know what the significance is to put the right jaw back in the slot with it being an independent, but that's how Cushman makes it. So they must make the jaws to match the slots. So if you look on the side of the jaw here, on the end, there's a number 1 on the bottom there, on the bottom of the slot, and there's a 1 there. And we look at this one, that one's got a number 3, so that one's going to go with this side right here, this one being 2, and there's the 2, and then 4 and 4. All right, so we'll go ahead and I've got it all cleaned off. Oh, so one thing that I'm going to do here, I've got a bottle. This is a very old bottle of graphite powder. It's a very fine powder, and I was always taught that this is a good thing to use on chucks. Is just mist it a little bit, dust it. Really, is all you're doing. Just dust it on the, you can put a little on the screw on this. We'll just put some right here in the threads. So what I try to do is just get it to where I can squeeze it, and I just dust a little bit on the threads right there. You see? That'll help lubricate the thread without using oil or grease, that kind of stuff. On chucks, whether it be this or 4-jaw or 3-jaw, whatever, it's best not to use a grease or oil. I think some people do like to use on a scroll chuck. Sometimes you'll see like a grease zerk in there, but I try to keep them dry and just use graphite powder to do a little bit of the lubricating. So, all right, let me go ahead and repeat that for all 4 jaws, and then we'll move on and start getting this over to the machine. Well, there you go. There's a nice little comparison of the 2 chucks side by side, and you can tell that they are it's the same chuck, 15-inch Cushman and a 15-inch Cushman right here. My old one's definitely a lot more dirty. So what I want to do now is I'm going to remove a couple of these jaws, and it's this one and this one that's the worst condition, and I'll remove them and I'll bring the camera in here really close so that you can see a better shot of it, and I'll show you what is worn out on this chuck and why I needed to replace it. This, I'm sure that you could probably send this back to Cushman. I believe it's called Cushman Industries now. I just don't hear about them out there anymore, but I believe they still make chucks. I believe you can send these back and they'll rebuild them for you. They'll recondition them, but you better have deep pockets if you're going to do something like that. So let's go ahead and we'll remove a couple of these jaws, and I'll bring your camera over here so you can check it out. All right. So I turn them side by side, and you can see what I'm talking about now. The screws in this old chuck, you see how well worn they are, and I've been afraid for a long time that these threads are just going to start breaking off there, and I'm kind of lucky that they haven't, but they have really been abused. And I just don't understand how just 2 of them, if you look at this one and this one's not as bad as that one, but it's still well worn, and these other 2 jaws, they don't look bad at all. Like that one still looks really good. I'm sure they got some wear on it, but you can see how bad these are right here, especially that one. And just compare it to the good screw on this other chuck here. Now the jaws themselves, I don't think that they're bad. The threads in there, you know, they still look good, especially when you compare it to you know, this one here. So that is why I was seeking out another chuck for this lathe right here, is because of this issue right here. So, you know, this old chuck it's lived a long life. It's done a lot of work, and I'm sure it's made a lot of money for our shop over the years, and no telling what it's made before we had our hands on it. So I'm gonna just set this one off to the side, and who knows what's going to come of it later, but it's just going to rest over here in the corner, and we're going to put this new one on the machine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take the 12-inch off the lathe right here. Now if you've never done this, this is a good tip. I don't think I can use this board on the 15-inch because it's going to be too big, but it'll work on the 12. So anytime you got a heavy chuck, if you'll slide you a board under here, that'll fit, and once you loosen it up, we'll go ahead and hit it like that to knock it off of the taper there, and just pick it up like so, and just comes right on off there just like that. So I'm going to manhandle this one, and I need to get my spot cleared over there on the Victor for it. So there's your spindle nose. There's the taper right here, and of course you got your face. And while I got this thing off, I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my stones, and I'm just going to just lightly touch that face there. That's just to remove any, if there might be one little tiny high spot sticking up somewhere on the face from a piece of grit, dirt, or dust that got in there whenever we tighten the chucks up. You can see it really good. There's a couple there. Before we mount it, I wanted to show how the cam lock works. So, all right, so the stud on the chuck is going to go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate one of these, and you can see it looks just like one of the studs that's on the chuck. So you just twist it around, and it'll pull it in tight. And over here, let me see if I can give you another shot. Come on, baby. All right, so it's numbered. It's been a while since I realized that. They got it numbered in right there. So on some of the four jaw chucks, I'm sorry, some of the spindles, they'll have like a line here and here, and that's typically where you want to tighten this up at. You'll see there's a notch on the top at 12 o'clock. Whenever you rotate this around, ideally you want it to lock somewhere between the 3 and 6 o'clock range on the rotation there. And we'll have to adjust it if they don't lock right there. That is a heavy chuck. So this plywood is the perfect size for this one here. All right, get it. So we're going to make sure that there is no dust left on this right here. So we're getting ready to mount it up. I'm just going to get it lined up with the studs as close as I can, and then what I'm going to do is pick up on this board and push it in. There we go. And chuck wrench. I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to push in on it to make it seat against the face. Twist that cam lock around. And it's right at 6 o'clock, so that one's good there. Let me go ahead and give you a shot of this on this side. All right, I just tightened up number 1. I'll go to number 2. And it's good. It's about 5:30 o'clock. 5 or 5:30 on the clock. Yeah, they're doing good. Looks like I might get lucky. They're all seating just like they should. Look at that, man. I hit them the first time. You just follow like I said, when you screw in the studs, you line up the little machined groove with the face of the chuck, and that'll put you really close. So we got them there. I'm going to go around it one more time and just double check them. There we go. The chuck's mounted. Well, there's your first look at the new chuck on the Monarch. It looks good. It looks good. I want to do some more polishing on the OD of this chuck and make it look a little bit better than it is. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that off screen there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do a test. We're going to chuck a piece up. Let's see how the jaws feel. They feel good. Now, one of the things that we're going to do, another project here real soon, I want to make another chuck wrench. This is the old one here, and it's well worn on the end. Now, I'm sure I could probably do some welding on this and remachine it, but that end's looking pretty rough. I just want to make another chuck wrench. That'd be a good project, and it'll fit these squares closer than what they are. Yeah, it's feeling pretty good. So we'll see how it's running. I got this piece of chrome rod. This is chrome plated. This is a hydraulic rod, and it's in a quarter. So let's go ahead and set our chuck to 1 1/4 inch. All right, it's pretty close. Oh yeah, man, that feels good. I'm so used to feeling the screws on that old chuck, just real grabby. You know, you can tell that it's just grinding metal every time that I would turn them. I'm gonna get some feeler gauges, and I'm gonna see if I can put a feeler gauge underneath these jaws here, and we'll see if it's grabbing all the way the length of the jaw. We'll go ahead and do our first indication first before we check it with the feeler gauge. Go ahead and get it in there like we want it. I wanted to get it kind of tight so that I can see the jaws biting down on the material. All right. All right, so here's a feeler gauge. I can't hardly read these things anymore. This thing's been, that looks like 2/1000ths there. That one might be 1 1/2. All right, so that's the 2. It's not going underneath there. All right, that's a good sign. It's a really good sign. I think we've got a good chuck here, guys. Let's fire it up. Looking good. If you stand here in front of it, it looks like it's running nice and true. Go ahead and take this piece out. See if we can see any contact marks on the chrome. You can see them right there. Looks like we've got full contact. This one right here, that's probably from indicating and moving it over, but it dug in a little bit deeper on the back side of it, but I can see contact all the way down it. That's great. That means you got a nice square hold on your workpiece, and it's not pinching on the back of the jaw and loose out here. We got a winner. We're ready to go. We're ready to do some work now. Well, that's going to conclude this little mini series for the new Cushman 4-jaw chuck for the Monarch here. And I just got to thank Jack Inman again. Jack, thank you very much for what you have done. Your donation here is a tremendous help here in the shop. As you've seen in the video how well worn the other chuck was, it's lived a long and hard life. And it looks like you did a good job and you found a good chuck. It just it was a little deceiving underneath that surface rust, but this is a good chuck. It's in good shape, and I'm glad that it's got a new home here on this Monarch in this shop. So just thank you very much, Jack, and everybody else. I hope you enjoyed this, and just thank you for your continued support and watching me here in this shop. Now I'm ready to put this to work. Let's find some more projects and get over here and get busy. We'll see you guys later.